Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining this session about social selling and AI. I think it's one of the most controversial topics so far about social selling. So I'm really excited about that, but it's not just the topic I'm excited for. Daniel, I have met you before I actually was doing social selling, met you through your book and through your content. When the first time I saw the book and the red background and stuff, I was like, okay, this guy got his shit together. I remember your videos when you were doing of your first book coming out. I got the book. It's amazing. And thank you so much for so much inspiration. I'm excited to get talking to you. Daniel Disney, welcome to the show.
Oh, Laura, thank you so much. And I'm so glad you've been able to benefit from the books. But I love that we actually got to meet in person a month ago in New York City, of all the places. And it was amazing to sort of bridge that gap between LinkedIn and real life. And I've loved everything you've been doing on LinkedIn with Dream Data. So I'm really excited for today.
Oh, God, it's going to be really good. So welcome everybody joining this session. And Daniel, so if we would start with a quick intro about yourself, what do you do? What do you offer your followers? I'm very excited to hear about that.
Yeah, so I'm a LinkedIn and social selling trainer, speaker, and author. I've got 3 books, 4th coming out very soon. And I train and speak to companies all over the world to get the most out of LinkedIn and social selling. So AI is the biggest topic in this space right now, the most controversial. And I'm really excited to maybe bring some clarity to it and a bit of direction, I'm hoping.
Very cool. And everybody listening to us, start popping the questions into the chat because we'll be picking them up along the way while we're going, but also at the very end of the conversation too. So a lot to unpack around the topics, but if we can ask people online to tell us, are you pro or against AI? Because that was one of the chats that you started to do on LinkedIn. Is like, do you use it? Do you not? What do you do? So Danny, let's start with that. With you. So what do you think about AI with social selling and why is it so controversial?
Do you know what? AI, it's funny that you said this was probably the biggest controversial topic right now, because it made me rewind back to maybe 6-7 years ago when I started really becoming vocal on LinkedIn. And the most controversial topic back then was social selling versus cold calling. So it seems quite funny that it's now been replaced by almost social selling versus AI. And it just seems to be this cycle of, I guess, change, which is what scares people. And AI has come in fast. Like it is adapting fast, it is evolving fast, and it's spreading fast. And that scares a lot of people that are, very safe and secure in what they've been doing. And now there's something new they have to learn. But I think what's made AI most controversial is in the way that it's used. And I think there is a good way of using it and a bad way of using it. And I think I'm hoping that's going to be the sort of core part of our chat today, but I think that's where the controversy comes. A lot of people using it in the wrong way, which then essentially gives it a bad rep out in the world. But if you use it right, I think there's a lot of potential.
Yeah, absolutely. And like most of the people on the wide LinkedIn net are saying, well, AI is not going to replace you, but a person using AI very likely will. So going back to the topic of using it wisely, really.
Do you know what? There's a phrase, and I use it for a lot of social selling references like Sales Navigator and stuff. It's one of my favorite phrases, and it is, you reap what you sow. And I think that's going to be a cool thing with Chat GPT and AI with social selling. You will get out what you put in. The more good stuff you put into AI, the better output you're going to get from it. And I think, again, we'll talk about some tools specifically, but it really is one of those cases that you reap what you sow. If you can put in good information, you'll get good information coming out.
Very cool. Yep, absolutely. So, first topic on our agenda was how to create better content for your audience and mix it up with you do it yourself and you do it with AI. So, better content for audience, what's that?
Do you know what? So content is a big pressure. I mean, Laura, tell me, when you first started posting content, how easy was it for you, and how easy is it now to keep up with the demand of content? You know, having to post several times a week, maybe every day. Do you find it easy, or is it challenging?
Before in time, it was not difficult because I used to just copy paste stuff that has been created for me. But then when you figure out, okay, that's not what actually people like and people want to consume on LinkedIn, then you do start to change to the more personal stuff. And that's the difficult part. Like to make it yours, your voice and your content, it's difficult, but it's a muscle for sure.
It is, and it does get easier the more you do it. But I've been sharing every day for over 6 years now, and trust me, it doesn't get easier as time goes on. You know, you're trying to get new, creative, original content going out. Where AI comes into it, and where I think it can help, is that AI is almost like this tool, your own little assistant that can help you in many ways. It can help you come up with ideas for content. It can help you rewrite or reformat content ideas, and it can essentially turn your sort of bank of stories and experiences into multiple forms of content. And that's where I think its biggest value lies, because posting consistently is really hard, especially for people that are new to creating and sharing content on LinkedIn. There's a big pressure to be active, and if you want to build a brand, you've got to be consistent and lots of good content going out. And I think AI can be very helpful in supporting that. I think it's the first really good tool to help with that. And there are a few tools that are definitely worth looking at.
But if we were to unpack like your content strategy for whom you write to and that it engages that audience and reaps the results that you're looking for, where do you place AI in that process?
So AI is good for the content creation side of things. Now, there probably are ways you could use it to research your audience, but that's quite an easy task to do yourself. But let's say, for example, let's think of an example. Let's say you're selling to sales leaders, sales directors, VPs of sales. Let's say that was your target customer base, and you were able to identify that. Most entrepreneurs, businesses, salespeople will know that. You can take that, go into ChatGPT as an example, and just put in, come up with 10, 20, 100 LinkedIn content ideas to help VPs of sales. And ChatGPT will do just that. There's your ideas. Now, you could then take idea number one, put it in ChatGPT, write me a 300 character post on this idea, and it will do just that. Now, there is a very fine line between getting to this point, copying and pasting it, putting it into LinkedIn and leaving it there. That's not the best strategy. ChatGPT kind of gets you halfway there. You then need to take either the idea or the post that it's created and make it your own. One of the ways that I do it personally is I'll follow that process. Whatever I get from ChatGPT, usually I need to change the hook, the intro, because it's not very good at doing those. Normally, I'll change a little bit of the formatting, so maybe some emojis, some bullet points, and then again, the call to action at the end, I'll probably edit. So the skeleton's there, the bulk of it's there. It's like a lump of clay. You just got to mold it a little bit, make it your own, make it your voice. Then it's good to go. But it saves, instead of you having to do everything, that might save you half the time, 2/3 of the time, and that's where the value starts to come to life.
Yeah, but is that better content than what you would have created yourself?
Yes, and bear in mind, I've been creating content for a long time, and I think I'm pretty good at it. I've seen examples where I've put some of my posts in there, and I'll give you another example. So there's a tool I've just started using, and I think people will have seen a lot of it on LinkedIn, called Taplio. Great tool for scheduling content, and they have an AI engine and I tried it the other day. I took one of my existing posts, which I thought was pretty well written. I put it in and asked it to rewrite it for me, and it did 2 versions, both of which I would probably say were better than my original version. So yes, it can make better content, but that's not to say you can't as well. And going back to my early stages of using LinkedIn, one of the things I was always cautious to do was go all in on one particular strategy. So I wouldn't say go all in AI content. I would probably do 50-50 or 60-40 and do your own posts, and then do some that are maybe AI infused, and do your own testing, see what works, see what does better. Or if not, at least you're getting that balance of both. Your voice is going out, and then maybe there's some sort of AI help in there as well.
Yeah. And how do you make sure to stand out? If all of the people who are listening right now would start to do AI generated content, it's great because it's still your voice as long as you edit it. But how do you make sure to stand out for your specific audience?
It's a really good question. So everyone as an individual has their own experiences, stories, history, and that's what you want to infuse. No one else has got, I mean, Laura, you as an example, no one else has worked at the companies you've worked, in the roles that you've worked, with the successes that you've had. That's very unique to you. So what you want to do is infuse that. Now, obviously, the AI isn't going to know all of that unless you put that in. So going back to the start of this, you reap what you sow. If you put in good examples and stories, then it is going to be very unique to you. If you, let's say you had a conversation with a customer today and 3 things were mentioned, it was an interesting conversation, and you summarized that conversation, put it into ChatGPT and said, here's a conversation I had today, can you please turn this into a LinkedIn post? That's how you create unique, good, personalized, valuable content. Again, you're just using AI to help you either turn it into a post or add to it or extend it or shorten it, whatever it needs.
Very cool. And how do you add it to other strategies, not just written content? Do you use any of that, like for pictures, for videos, for carousels, for anything like that? Any of that?
Do you know what? So for videos and carousels, I think the technology is a lot newer than it is. So for example, ChatGPT, there is the image version of ChatGPT. I've started testing it. It's nowhere near as advanced as ChatGPT is for text. So, it's early stages for that. Same as video and carousel creation. There are some tools that are doing it, but it's certainly not as advanced as what, ChatGPT and a lot of other AI tools are. Yes, I think in the near future, maybe end of this year, early next year, we'll have some really good tools. And if anyone who's watching this has got some suggestions, pop them into the comments, because I'm always keen to test new tools. But I think that's going to take a little bit longer to create. It's a little bit more complex than just coming up with word-based documents. But it won't be long. And yes, you will be able to. I mean, I've seen a few people share completely AI-generated images of either themselves or scenarios.
Yeah.
They're not good so far. From the ones I've seen, I haven't seen any that I thought, wow, that's amazing, compared to a text post where it's like, yeah, okay, you wrote that really, really well. But for like video editing, I think that's going to be one of the best ones and I've seen some tools that you can put a video in and it will just turn it into clips and add, subtitles and all those things.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, I've got a colleague who's very happy for ChatGPT pictures, and let's wait till ChatGPT pictures get a little bit better.
Think about how much ChatGPT's evolved in just like the last 12 months. So it's not going to be long, is it?
Exactly. So Juan Pablo is asking us about standing out, how to avoid risk of commoditization or sounding like everyone else. You touched a little bit about that, but what are the exact things that you would be picking up for each and every post, or even a prompt to make it like you, not like everyone else?
It's a really good question. And I just there was a conversation I had with John Barrows recently about AI, and him and Justin Welsh have both posted about this, where they've posted something on LinkedIn and attached a screenshot of the comments, where sometimes 5 or 6 of the comments were AI generated, automatically set up, and they were all identical. So that is an instant red flag right there for the sort of poor use of, you can't ask AI to automatically comment until the AI actually reads the post and creates a unique comment, which it will at some point soon, let's be honest. But at the moment, AI is not doing that. So that's definitely not a way to stand out. But what I just mentioned to you, Laura, to avoid sounding like everyone else, you add your voice to it, whether it's at the prompt stage or at the editing stage. Either put in very unique personal examples into the prompt and ask it to create good content, or when it, let's say, I don't know, I'm going to go in and I say, can you create 10 tips for VPs of marketing for 2024? That generally is going to be obviously quite a generic post. If I shared it as it is, anyone else could share exactly the same post. But if I then added a bit of a story at the top, and I might start the post with, do you know what? I just spoke to a VP of marketing of a Fortune 500 company. They noticed 3 big challenges this year. Bum, bum, bum. Here are 10 tips that I think are going to help them. And then I add a close. The tips always going to be quite generic, but I'm still adding my own flair. So it's just trying to add bits of you wherever you can into the content.
Cool. And Jesper is asking an additional question to that. Do you have insights on post frequency of AI and non-AI generated content? I think it's a good one.
It is a very good one. So as an individual, I would personally recommend you don't share more than 1 post per day. So let's say at a maximum, you're sharing anywhere between 5 and 7 posts a week. If I were, well, at the moment where I'm sort of still in the testing phases of using AI, I would say probably 75% of my posts are generated by me. And then 25, sometimes 30% are AI created or at least enhanced in some capacity. So I'm still trying to keep the balance heavily personal created to AI, but that may change as these tools get better. And as I mentioned earlier, they are getting very, very good. That may change.
Yeah. And in my personal opinion, the less generic you become with your posting is like, oh, here are this X number of tips for this and that. This is very generic, no matter if you have created it or copied it from a blog or you ask ChatGPT to create it. So as long as you make it more targeted to yourself, to your audience, that's relevant and humorous or broken down for easier reading, then it will definitely stand out as not a bulk created something that anybody could create.
Exactly. And that's where I was quite impressed with Taplio, especially. And I'll pop links to these after we've gone live and I'll put it into the comments. But what Taplio did that I was impressed with was you could take a story, your own story, and it would turn it into different posts, very completely different, same story, but it would reword it in a really smart way that they looked like completely unique posts. So that's a smart way of using AI to turn your stories into still really personalized posts. So not the generic lists of tips or suggestions, but again, your stories. So I think that's where AI is getting good, not just at creating content, but also resculpting it.
Yeah. And on the same topic still, can you talk about creating personas using ChatGPT if you have done that so?
Yeah, so personas is good. It's funny, as soon as I saw the word personas, I go to Sales Navigator, which is another, there's a great, I mean, Sales Navigator, we'll talk about in a minute how they've started to really cleverly integrate AI. But personas in ChatGPT is also really good. And this comes down to probably one of my first tips with using AI is knowing who you're trying to reach. So if you know who you're trying to connect with through your content, the more you know. It's not just I'm selling to sales leaders. Try and go deeper. Like, where are they based? What size company is the sweet spot? The more niche you can go, the better that it's going to be able to find that voice. But that's where I see AI taking the next step. And I'm seeing it now with some early tools where you've got AI to create stuff, but now it's giving you the option to really put in targeted information. This is who I sell to. This is the problem. This is the solution. This is some examples of successes. This is the tone I want to put out. This is the seniority that they are. You know, the more you can put that information in, the output is just significantly better.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we dig into shortcuts and InMails and stuff, the last question. Do you know if LinkedIn can actually start seeing AI generated and non-AI generated? And does that affect the algorithm?
I actually had a conversation with LinkedIn about this a few weeks ago. And now LinkedIn's a big company, so I'm not going to say and summarize, exactly what they said. What I took away from it was a lot of people don't know internally, and I don't think it's going to be easy for them to identify that. Again, this conversation I had with John Barrows, he said, wouldn't it be good if you could highlight a post, if you had to, like on Instagram, you have to put sponsored post if it's a sponsored post. Imagine if you could actually highlight, this is an AI generated post. And actually, what would the impact of that be? And you talked about controversy. I've done a few polls about this recently. I personally, if I saw a post from a thought leader or an expert influencer and I thought, that's a really good post, and I really liked it, and then I found out AI had written it, it would make me feel different about it, I think.
Yep.
That it wasn't them. Even some people were arguing, oh, but they must have done the prompt. They must have put the information in. All right, I get that a little bit, but it's still not them. It's still someone else. And so it would be interesting, actually, if you did clarify, would engagement change? If a big influencer who was getting tons of likes actually put this post is done by AI, would the engagement drop? Would it? I don't know if it would rise, but yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I don't know if LinkedIn will ever be able to see it. I think it's too. I don't know how they would be able to track it. Schools can't do it, can they? Schools, you've got kids doing their homework with ChatGPT now. How are they to know unless they're silly enough to copy and paste it and it is quite obviously from ChatGPT? If you don't do that, like again, the ChatGPT or the AI comments is very clear sometimes, but I don't think LinkedIn's going to be able to ever do anything to block it. It's whether they try and create transparency. But again, how would you police that? I don't know.
And it's happening so fast as well that it's the technology is changing so fast. And so we had the same conversation with Amy Volas as well, where she says, whenever I can see that it's AI, and there is a tool for that, I think it's called Copy Leaks, where it can highlight for you if it's generated by AI, but on emails. And as soon as you get that, I think it's only on emails or maybe on the websites as well so far, but there will come technology that will spot that for you. And if you get it red lighted, you scroll through your LinkedIn and say AI, AI, not AI. And it's like your eyes will stop only there where a person has done. But that's far away future next month.
Well, you know what? And there's where there's a big tip, I think, where we take all of this and look at AI right now. AI could be the tool that you need to build your voice and confidence on LinkedIn so that you're in a place where you're able to create a lot more of your own content. I think that don't look at the future as like AI is going to do all your content. Maybe look at the future as you create all the content, but to help you get to that point of confidence and ability, use AI to help you. Because I think the hardest part for most people is that early few months where you start posting and you don't know what to post, you don't know how to post it, you don't know what to share. So if AI can be your little coach and assistant during that time that you find your voice and confidence, I think that's probably the best use of AI as you then are able to, take it on your own.
Yeah. Let's move on. AI shortcuts. We had this on the agenda. When and what to use as AI shortcuts?
I think another huge opportunity with AI is saving time. Sales tools have been doing this for a few years now, and it's great to see it come into social selling. So I'll use an example like Sales Navigator. So Sales Navigator, amazing tool, not cheap, so not for everyone. I'm not going to try and suggest it's for everyone, but they've bought AI with Account IQ, which gives you incredible insights scoured from LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, and the internet. And it gives you just all these buyer intel. So if I'm looking at Microsoft as a company, it will prompt me. Here are some of the challenges they're facing now that you could solve. Here are, recent insights, statistics, posts, just this whole dashboard of information that, these AI tools are scouring consistently and constantly. That saves me a lot of time. So
is that already in Sales Nav?
It's already in Sales Nav. It's only available on, I think, the Pro or the Advanced level, so it's a little bit more expensive than the standard Sales Navigator, but in my experience and opinion, worth it if you're able to afford it, or the company's able to afford it. I'm always very conscious of the financial side of Sales Navigator, but it's incredible and it saves me time. I then don't have to go and spend however long researching. A lot of the information I need is now there, and it will only get better. I mean, it only came out a few months ago, so it's still very new, and the more information it sources and the more it learns about you, the better it's going to get. So I'm excited for that. But then there are other tools coming out that are helping with shortcuts. So I use the tool called Linkport, but there's a Linkport. I'll tag these all in when we're done.
Very exciting.
But Surf is a new tool that's come in that's doing the same thing, but maybe a little bit more and a little bit better, where basically you'll go onto LinkedIn and let's say, Laura, I went onto your profile and I thought, oh, Laura looks like a good prospect. I click a button, all your information's put straight into my CRM from LinkedIn, the accessible, like it's not going to make stuff, but everything that's on your profile that's accessible to everyone is just going to go straight in, create an account in my CRM automatically. How much time does that save? Instead of me going manually, name, job title, company, blah, 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 one click, done. Yeah. These are the sort of shortcuts that save me time, make me more efficient, and time that I guess I say it's a waste of time. It's an important task. But if I can then spend that time doing some more research or sending a more personalized message or even creating a bit of content, that's better time invested.
Absolutely. We started dipping our toes into like LinkedIn, Apollo, and SalesNav joins together for better prospecting and outreach. It's actually impressive what it can do, and that's a lot of shortcuts to find. Another topic for another time for a really long hour, but I love it. Sure. And then let's talk a little bit about AI messaging. So content creation is one thing, but AI messaging and going into InMails, what is your opinion about that and how do you work with it?
Up until late last year, I had not seen a single AI tool do messaging well. And bearing in mind, I have a whole book written on LinkedIn messaging. I've sent tons of LinkedIn messages, and I talk about it a lot because to this day, the majority of messages that I get, and I'll do a full sort of survey once every few months, the majority of my messages are spammy, not personalized sales pitch messages. And it's so AI doesn't do a good job, but people aren't doing a good job either. So I think what there is now becoming are very good solutions. So there's a platform I've started using called Twain. Again, I'll list all these afterwards. I'm not making a lot of suggestions today. Twain.ai, so TWAIN, hands down the most incredible messaging tool, AI messaging tool I've ever seen. And I kind of alluded to this earlier. What they do when you are using, and it's for connection requests, messages, InMails, and emails.
Wow.
What you do is you put in all the information you need. So you put in who are you trying to sell to? What's the problem they have? What is the solution you offer? What are some examples of results you've achieved for companies? Then you can choose your tone. So how firm, serious, formal, creative, emoji usage. So you create custom tones. You get to really customize what it needs to do. And then as an example with connection requests, you go onto that person's profile and it will automatically read their profile and create personalized connection request messages. With LinkedIn messages and InMails, if you've had a conversation with them, it will read the conversation and help you generate replies based on what the person has said before. Same with email as well. So it's been built for sellers, which is why it's so good, because they've got a team of people making this for salespeople, and it's working incredibly. So as with all AI things, always be cautious, always make sure, what is coming out of it is as close to your voice as possible. And most AI might still need a bit of customization here and there. But what we're seeing with platforms like Twain is they're getting good. And the companies that are really programming them for certain use cases are creating the best tools instead of trying to, AI for everyone type thing. AI for salespeople, perfect. I'm sure there'll be one for other industries as well. So it's coming on great, and I would definitely recommend testing. At the moment, it's free, by the way, as well. So it's currently free before it goes properly live in the near future. So definitely go and check it out because again, you're not paying for it, so give it a go.
But that's a very interesting thing about helping you on prompting, because if you wrote down those parts of a prompt for yourself, not just the prompt, but what kind of tone do you want to write, who's your persona, and so on, and start researching your prospects on that, that's already a good way for a seller to start thinking about before you even send a message. Is this just generic, or what type of tone would you like to be perceived on the other end? Are you writing to a C-level? Are you writing to a manager, and so on? So I think it's in general very healthy to just start looking at it. What kind of questions do you have to answer before you reach out to anybody at all?
And I always teach, because I work with a lot of sort of startup teams and salespeople that are new into role. So they might not know that. They might not have all that information to hand. So it's a good task, to your point, Laura, to go and find it. Talk to the more experienced sellers, talk to your leaders. The more you understand, and it's the same for content and messaging, the more you understand about who you're trying to reach, the better you can create the message or the piece of content. And again, if you can train or be able to put in that information into an AI tool, the outcome's going to be 100 times better than without it.
Yeah. What's your take on quantity versus quality for outreach with AI?
Always quality. I have
Mhm.
always been one to push the quality, and it tends to be counterintuitive to a lot of sales leaders that will always be pushing on the quantity, which is why I think the majority of the messages I get on LinkedIn are non-personalized, spammy, copy and paste jobs. Now, AI, you could fall into that trap where it's like, right, create me a message, copy, paste, send, and again, it's no different to ChatGPT, create me a post, copy it, paste it. It's going to be very visible that it's AI. And I've got a decent eye. I can tell when something's AI
Yeah.
or not AI. So I think quality should always be the main goal, where at least you stop, even if it's just for a minute, look at it, read it, make sure it's got the right messaging in it, make sure it sounds like you, doesn't sound too salesy or too robotic. That time, whether it's 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, is always going to be better than sending 5 more really terrible messages that are going to get no replies, possibly burn some bridges of potential customers. Like, just take a stop. I would always say send less messages of better quality. You'll get a way better outcome than if you try and send lots of messages of poor quality and hope something sticks. It
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Yeah. And now we spoke a little bit about social selling and messaging with AI. We can take a step back and remove AI from the picture or keep it there. But have you ever tried to join your social selling efforts with the further outreach to the people? And how does that work? How do you connect the two if you were to do that?
When you say further outreach, you mean like email and phone
In
calls?
mail, or do you do any strategies on like creating your content for specific personas, then joining them further for outreach? And how do you actually leverage any type of technology for that?
Yeah, so I think the key is to understand what your sales. Everyone's sales process is different. I see this all the time. Some people start with LinkedIn, some people start with an email, some people start with it doesn't really matter where you start. The whole point is you use whatever tools you need to use to get through to that person. If they don't answer your call, you send them an email. If they don't reply to the email, you try and connect on LinkedIn. You try and use
Mhm.
all those tools in some capacity, and then content kind of feeds through it. I think a lot of it depends on who you're selling to, how big the industry and audience size is. I've always been a individual quality type
Mm.
seller. So back in corporate days, all the way through to what I do now, I would rather focus on an individual prospect at a time, create custom messaging, custom emailing, custom content for them, or at least relatively custom content. Again, if I'm selling to VPs of marketing, then at least I have a bracket instead of
Yeah.
just going blanket marketing. I can go high level leadership marketing, but I will always try and customize and personalize as much as possible. And I do think that's key. And if anything, this rise of AI in social selling and sales is only going to increase the value of personalization and customization, because our inboxes are full of poor AI generated messaging and content. So when someone does stand out creatively, uniquely, or by doing some really deep research, that's the only way to compete.
Yeah.
And it is it is humans versus robots, in the sense that salespeople have to compete with these AI tools, but it's actually easy to. I think it's
Mhm.
really easy to. It just takes a little bit of extra effort. It's just going the extra mile.
Yeah. So since personalization is all about reaching the right people at the right time, I'm thinking about the balance of creating the prompts using AI, but also not to create your sales outreach to be way too robotic, because then you could say, oh, we can just hire all the juniors and give them all the prompts and they will be booking just as many meetings as the senior SDRs or stuff like that. So how do you balance the two, the personalization part, the experience of the sales craft in general, and AI?
So there's loads to go with this. One is the training and coaching you provide your team to give them the experience and knowledge they need. That's always going to be a big gap in the industry as it is. But let's say you're new to sales, you don't have a ton of experience or examples. What you can provide is, here are 10 of the most recent companies we've worked with. Here's the ROI they generated and all variations. Now use that as part of your messaging to go out and say, hey, Laura, we just worked with a similar company to Dream Data. We were able to help them achieve this. It's personalized. It's not just a spammy, hey, Laura, I work for this company. We do X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. It's relevant to you. You're talking about an ROI or a problem. It could be, Laura, just spoke to a VP of marketing at a very similar company who said this was a problem they were struggling with, wanted to see if it was something that was on your radar as well. There are ways you can find pain points, ROI examples, things that will make your messaging stand out, things that are personalized to a level that at least for either some examples or some opportunities are enough. You can then just find ways to take it a step further where you might be able to say, I actually did speak to this person yesterday. I'm going to use that in the messaging.
Really nice. Love that. Let's move into tools for social selling. You name dropped a couple of them, but walk me through like content creation and then messaging. What kind of tools do you use and have seen people using?
So first of all, I'll just give a bit of a tip. There are tons of tools and they're popping up every single day. Lots of AI tools because it is I guess, the next frontier of technology and SaaS and sales tech. So there are lots of tools. My biggest tip would be, if you can try it for free, always try it for free first before you jump in. But look for the tools that really focus on the output. They're not just trying to create something piggybacking off ChatGPT, but they're creating something very specifically for your type of customers, your industry or audience or whatever it may be. Look for the tools that are really building specifically for you. There are lots out there. Some are good, some are bad. Try and sift through. Look for the ones that people are talking about, the ones that have good reviews. And again, try it for yourself would be my biggest tip. But the ones that I use, ChatGPT is phenomenal. So it's what lots of these tools are being built off. Lots of these sales tools, these AI tools are being built onto ChatGPT. So there is a reason it's there as the base of it. It is a phenomenal tool. And there are lots of other ones that are decent. But what I found as an example, so Taplio was one of the ones I mentioned where you can schedule content in advance and it can completely create content for you. So it will just, it can give you ideas. You can create an entire post, or you can take a post and it rewrites it, but it's slow. Whereas ChatGPT, done like in an instant, super fast. And, I'm not saying it's the perfect output, still needs a bit of molding, but it's fast and efficient. Yeah. So for me, it's ChatGPT, Taplio, Sales Navigator with Account IQ, which I use a lot, Twain for messaging, InMails, messaging, connection requests, and emails. And then Linkport was the one I'd been using to import LinkedIn profiles into the CRM. Surf is what I'm going to be testing because I think it's the better tool now. So, but those are the ones that I'm personally using and having tested quite a lot over the years. Those are the ones that are my personal favorites, but new ones are popping up all the time. So I love it. I love seeing people recommend platforms that I can go and test and see if they're good, because better tools are coming or existing tools are evolving.
Definitely. And if you've got any tools that are your favorite right here, write them down and tell us why should we also test them out, because it also takes some time to take in a new tool. And if it's not a recommended one by somebody, it's just AI, or like it takes time, and I'm not sure if you're going to get the value.
And remember, you reap what you sow. So with all these things, what you put in will definitely have an impact on your outcome. So don't go into these tools expecting them to do everything. You'll probably need to at least tell them what you want to get out of it. But the more focused you can be on that, the better the output's going to be 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very cool. If there are any more questions, we're very happy to answer them. There are a lot of comments about bringing in human intelligence to all your social selling. AI makes lives easier. Of course it does. And let's do that. Let's use AI to help us work smarter rather than just put out a lot of bad content. I really hope that all those AI comments are soon disappearing. I've got somebody saying SenseSpark for AI voice cloning. Have you heard about that one?
I have. Someone mentioned that. Funnily enough, when we were in New York, someone mentioned it. And I think I heard of it doing voice cloning. And I don't know if it was the same tool. I saw an example. Someone had actually created or got AI to create an AI video of them. So, like a video of me speaking, completely done by AI. And I saw the video of this person that had done it. And I mean, I would say it was 90% perfect. Like it looked like it was them, and it wasn't them. They didn't record anything. It just took their videos, and then I mean, it was scary. It was like freaky AI stuff. But I've heard good things about SenseSpark. I do need to do some testing myself. But that is again where this evolution is going to go. Where you could be like, right, Mr. AI platform, create a video of me saying this. Who needs to even get behind a camera anymore, Laura? We can just do these AI versions of us doing these.
Exactly. And then we don't need to do a walk and talk and video and cut it, and then AI would do it for us. Well, let's see how authentic that is, but could be an alternative for just another video.
Well, here's a scary alternative future that I certainly hope doesn't come to life. What have we got at the minute, Laura, that's happening? We've got AI created content, AI generated comments. Where is this going to go? Where LinkedIn is purely AI talking to AI posts being commented on by AI bots. I mean, I hope LinkedIn finds a way to control this, because that is a potential outcome of this place. But I do, like with messaging and emails, the best messages and emails are the ones that are human, they're creative, they're original, same as content. So I do think that will always be the way to cut through the AI noise, is to be yourself and find unique, creative ways to put your message out there, whether it's content, messaging, emails, etc.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Eva is asking us what's the name for voice cloning. So SenseSpark was mentioned for voice cloning for names of the prospects, but the rest is you, and you are saying the name. But the one that you're speaking, Dan, I think that Will Aitken did it at a point, and it was quite funny, but it's a long time ago, and I don't remember what the tool was, but I'm sure he does.
Yeah, no, it was someone else who told me about. I remember Will's one. Someone told me a few weeks ago and showed me it, and like I said, it was good. So AI is getting better, and now you're never going to be able to trust anything. A photo, a video, is it that person? Is it not?
Exactly. Is this even real?
Is this even real?
Good. Daniel, really, really nice to meet you. See you at another event. People, go follow Daniel. Go buy his old book, because the new one is coming soon. So you'll have a lot to read. What is your new book about, by the way?
I can actually show you very quickly, because this is going to be coming out later this week. 500 LinkedIn content ideas. So this is real, authentic ideas, but I also have 100 ChatGPT prompts in to help people, and I show them how to use AI. So everything we've talked about today around content is in this book, and it will be out very soon.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that. That's very exciting. Very nice meeting you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And keep your comments over there and all of your suggestions for the tools that you're using, so people can go out and test them out.
Hopefully real comments as well. Maybe no AI comments.
Exactly.
That would be ironic.
Thanks, everybody.